Kenbunshoku Haki, Observation Haki. Kenbunshoku Haki is a form of Haki that grants the user a sixth sense that allows them to sense the presence, strength, and emotions of others, as well as gain limited precognitive abilities. In Skypiea, Kenbunshoku is known as mantra, mantora, literally meaning mind rope. Kenbunshoku Haki was first used in the series by Blackbeard in the Jaya arc. He noticed that Monkey D. Luffy's strength did not correspond to his known bounty of belly.png 30,000,000 at the time, further commenting on Luffy's own Haki after Bellamy's defeat. In the Impel Down arc, Blackbeard confirmed to Luffy himself that he had measured the latter's Haki at the time. In the Skypiea arc, it was introduced under the name Mantra during Satoru's ordeal of balls. It varied in strength between users, with Enel seeming to have the greatest range. With his devil fruit, the Goro Goro no Mi, Enel could pick up electroreceptor signals in the atmosphere by using his devil fruit to read the airwaves, allowing him to overhear conversations and everything around him. This extended the range of his mantra to cover roughly all of Skypiea. By comparison, most of the other priests could only keep track of people nearby. Isa is the only known Shandia who has this ability. The first time it was seen being used and referred to as Haki was during Luffy's battle on Amazon Lily with the Gorgon sisters. Later, Silvers Rayleigh explained Haki to Luffy and confirmed that mantra and Haki are one and the same, and that mantra is simply Skypiea's name for the ability. Usage. The usage of this type of Haki grants its user the ability to access a kind of extrasensory perception, granting the user several helpful abilities. These abilities are great assets in most occasions, especially in combat. Kenbunshoku Haki, unlike the other types of Haki, has hardly any visible indication when being used in the manga, like the blackening effect of hardening for Busashoku or the ripple effect for Haushoku, aside from their enhanced dodge rate. In the anime Special Heart of Gold, anime movie One Piece film, Z and since Whole Cake Island arc, those who are able to use Kenbunshoku Haki were shown with bright red pupils when sensing incoming attacks, hidden opponents, or seeing slightly into the future. According to Charlotte Katakuri, Kenbunshoku Haki works best if the user is in a calm state. Kenbunshoku Haki works independently from the physical senses. This was proven through Kinemon, after his body was split apart by law, when his legs and torso acted independently, relying solely on Haki for guidance. Basic techniques. Presence sensing. The most common usage of this Haki allows the user to sense the presence of others. Rayleigh states that to fully master this ability would allow the user to see others, even if they are concealed from view or too far to see naturally. This type of Haki allows the user to see another person through their aura, be it behind buildings, strategically hidden, or camouflaged. Given this, Kenbunshoku Haki, depending on the level, can discover who is hidden, but still present. When viewed this way, the user cannot actually see the person or animal with any physical characteristics, but rather recognizes the targets by their aura, which is a mental image of a colored silhouette of them on a dark background, as demonstrated when Usopp sniped Sugar, or how the blind Isho sees the world. Characters who use Kenbunshoku Haki often describe presences as voices and can usually tell if specific people are still alive, dead, or close to death depending on whether they can still hear them. In the unique circumstance of being swallowed by a larger creature and still being alive, the mantra user will only be able to sense the larger energy signature. Similarly, a mantra user trapped inside a larger creature is unable to sense what is happening outside. Strength sensing. This application of Haki allows the user to measure the strength of the people whose presence they sense. This usage of Haki is useful in finding powerful auras. Through this application, the user can easily locate powerful allies and avoid powerful enemies. This ability can also be utilized to measure the Haki of others. Blackbeard confirmed this during his raid on Impel Down when he mentioned that Monkey D. Luffy's own Haki was greater than it was during their previous meeting in Jaya. Other characters that have been shown using this specific application are Bellamy, Kobe, Basil Hawkins, Page 1 and Ultai. Emotion sensing. This variation of Kenbunshoku allows the user to sense and empathize with the emotions and nature of others. For example, Otoheim used this Haki to sense the sufferings and emotions in the heart of a fishman thief, as well as hear the screams coming from Fisher Tiger's heart. Another example is that Isa was able to sense Wiper's aggressive nature with this Haki. In addition, Isho sensed no trace of resentment from the citizens of Dressrosa, discovering that they were putting on a facade to help the Straw Hats escape. However, this ability is not flawless. People with high control over their emotions and acting abilities can somewhat counter this technique. An example of this is Squard, Pudding, or Kanjuro, who were able to fool very proficient users of Kenbunshoku Haki like Whitebeard, Sanji, or the 9 Red Scabbards. When someone awakens this ability unconsciously, they become vulnerable to passively empathizing with the negative emotions of others without having the proper mental fortitude. This can be a traumatic experience for the user, especially in the context of several people dying, as the user will passively empathize with strong emotions of fear, pain, and hate. Intent sensing. Another variant of Kenbunshoku Haki allows its user to sense another person's intent to act in the immediate future, especially through bloodlust/killing intent within combat, allowing them to predict what someone is going to do, usually seconds prior, in what resembles a pseudo-form of precognition. However, it should not be confused with the actual, literal ability to see into the future which, as explained below, requires another level of skill entirely. Naturally, this predictive application of Haki is highly helpful in battle, as the user, depending on their level of proficiency, may have a vastly easier time predicting the path of enemy attacks to either dodge or counter them. The more killing intent exuded by a given enemy, the more predictable their attacks, although great enough Kenbunshoku experts can predict enemy moves whether there is murderous intent or not. Of course, since conscious intent has to be present for one to sense it with Haki, any actions that are done unconsciously or with complete indiscrimination cannot be predicted. Luffy, during his fight against Enel, was able to counter the latter's Kenbunshoku by delivering attacks in random, uncontrolled directions. Yet another way to counter predictive Kenbunshoku is by simply being so fast that, even if an enemy can predict one's attack, they cannot dodge in time. Advanced techniques. Future vision. A highly advanced level of Kenbunshoku Haki allows the user to see a short period into the future. Instead of just sensing what will happen by intuition, the user of this advanced level of Kenbunshoku Haki can literally see a precise mental image of what will happen in the next few seconds. The vision also the user to hear any words that will be spoken. Contrary to basic Haki, there is no need to sense emotions or intention to use this technique. According to Rayleigh, this ability is very difficult to obtain via training. It has to be learned by advancing their Haki in the heat of battle against strong opponents. This advanced Haki ability has been proven to be an effective countermeasure against Busashoku Haki for Devil Fruit users whose powers grant shape-shifting abilities, such as Logias or special Paramecias. With Kenbunshoku Haki, they can foresee their opponent's attacks and quickly change the shape of their bodies to avoid contact. Katakuri is a great user of this tactic, as he forms holes in his Machi body so the attacks pass through empty air without actually touching him, giving the impression that not even Busashoku Haki works on him, while in reality, the attack simply does not make any contact at all. This application does have its limitations. Unlike basic Kenbunshoku, the user needs to properly focus in order to use this ability. If the user is not concentrating enough, they may be unable to see the future. Only another user of Kenbunshoku Haki of equal proficiency or a distraction can counter this ability. In addition, the user can only interpret the future through their own senses. Katakuri foresaw his sister Pudding crying and collapsing to her knees on the altar, but because he was too far away from her, he could not hear what was about to be said, and thus he had no way to know what was about to cause this. The future that the user sees can be changed, which could result in an outcome that the user failed to foresee. Charlotte Katakuri was able to see Sanji dodging another person's gunshot and tried to intervene by attacking Sanji himself. However, he was unable to see the outcome of his own intervention of this event in time, resulting in Sanji surprising him when he dodged his attack as well. Moreover, it is possible for an enemy to exploit a negative reaction from the user, as it can be treated as assurance that a desirable outcome will happen. Luffy may have used this ability for the first time unconsciously during his encounter against Mihawk at Marineford, allowing him to foresee and avoid the amputation of both of his arms by the sword of the warlord. Mihawk even pointed that Luffy was being too calm for the time being. Usopp may have also unconsciously accessed this ability in Dressrosa, anime only, when he first sees a vision of missing his sniper's shot before awakening his Haki. Charlotte Katakuri, the strongest sweet commander of the Big Mom Pirates, is well known for mastering this technique, and a great part of his reputation is thanks to this. The only two people able to evade this technique was Sanji with his speed and his own mastery of Kenbunshoku Haki, and Luffy who got to attack Katakuri while he was not focused after his true nature was discovered. Kaido has also shown the ability to use future sight. Drawbacks. This type of Haki is also known to falter if the user loses their concentration. Satoru lost control of his mantra when Luffy unexpectedly brought the string of exploding balls right to him, enabling Luffy to grab him from behind when the smoke cleared. Gadatsu lost to Chopper because he lost his concentration and his mantra faltered, and Otoheim was killed by a gunshot in the confusion when her petition pages were being burned. As she was caught off guard due to her happiness over everyone signing her petitions, she lost her concentration. While Kenbunshoku Haki to be very effective against the living and things affected by the conscious thought of the living, such as an enemy's weapon, its effect is limited against the unconscious, such as purely random things, or that which is affected by reflexes as shown when Luffy fought Enel. It is also limited in sensing things with no intent at all, such as the environment, as shown with Kinemon whilst his body was separated. His torso and legs were able to move and accurately attack independently thanks to Haki, but still ended up stumbling occasionally, with his torso even being unable to sense the lake and falling into it. Even the blind Isho still requires a cane to navigate his surroundings, despite being able to use Haki to accurately pinpoint the location of other people and differentiate between them. Additionally, particularly fast opponents can give Kenbunshoku Haki users trouble. While they are able to sense the incoming attack, they still need to dodge it. This also applies to users of advanced Kenbunshoku Haki. It is revealed that like Busashoku Haki, Kenbunshoku Haki can be depleted if used too much. Training. Rayleigh's training. Training to learn Kenbunshoku Haki involves dodging various types of attacks while blindfolded, as well as counterattacking while blindfolded. One first trains by fighting against animals, and later against humans. Kenbunshoku is easier to use against animals because they always show their emotions and act on instinct, unlike humans who are capable of deception. The most important thing to remember is that every attack carries an intent and a hint. While training Luffy, Rayleigh set a goal for him, to dodge his attacks 100 times in a row. Awakening methods. In some cases, an individual does not need to train in order to attain and use Kenbunshoku Haki. Some people acquire it unconsciously within tense situations, while others are born with the ability to use it. Though, these cases are extremely rare. If you like this content, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you later, bye bye.